Me, yeah, Lumi, I've seen your vote on the poll that I done. So, guys, if you haven't seen it, there's a poll that I've done which come out, I believe, about an hour ago. So it's who has the biggest potential, and there's four players on that list. So yeah, I won't spoil it for you, but obviously have a look when you get a chance on the post. Lumi's already voted, and yeah, big up to Lumi. But again, I can kind of see why. Well, I kind of knew who should vote for anyway. Put it that way. It kind of gave it away. So, but yeah, no, big up Lumi for your vote. And guys, as I say, give it a check and let me know what you think. I've got another one coming out today actually as well at 3 o'clock, which again is going to be an interesting one, and I think this one might be in going in the favour that I think it will, and it should do, you know. But as I say, yeah, give that a check and let me know. And guys, as always, make sure you sub to the channel and make sure you smash the like button. Again, when you smash the like button, it just helps the channel to grow, you know. So again, if you enjoy the content, you know, and if you checked out my other content as well, and you like what you see, then as I said, just smash that like button, help support the channel. And as always, keep giving me your questions, and once I've finished saying what I've got to talk about, you know, I'll always get back to your questions or your comments, just for the support that you guys are showing on the channel. Big up to Agnes 14ish, and big up to Jude Fenwick as well. And guys, just so you guys don't forget, I am back later today as well at 6 p.m. with Jonas. Big up to Daniela as well. Yeah, I am back with Jonas at 6 o'clock today. So we're gonna get into some Liverpool talk, and obviously Man United as well, because there's a few things that I want to discuss with him, you know. So yeah, as I said, man, we'll definitely get into that. So yeah, make sure you guys come and support us as well at 6 p.m. And as always, keep giving us your comments, you know. As I said, guys, I'll get back to your comments and your questions afterwards. But as normal, keep them coming through, and yeah, we'll definitely discuss what you got to say. Big up to Barbara Joseph as well for coming through. So, first and foremost, before we forget, actually, almost forgot. Big up to the England women's team for winning the Euros. You know, I have to be honest, I was shocked. You know, I didn't actually expect that. And for me, it's actually mad because, you know, I think it just shows you, you know, if you, whatever kind of football you play, you know, if you play the best football, doesn't always result in a win, you know. And I think England showed that throughout the whole tournament. You know, as I said, they were very fortunate to get through even to the semi-final. You know, you think of the group stages, they lost their first game to France. And then you think of the game against Sweden when they were 2-0 down and then come back and won that on penalties. Then you look at the semi-final against Italy, 1-0 down, and then come back and win that 2-1. And again, the final, 1-0 down against Spain, and then come back and win it on penalties, man. So, as I said, I thought Spain would win it because Spain, for me, were the best team throughout the whole tournament. You know, they got the majority, the collectively the best players as well. But again, England with that never say die attitude, and that's what got them in over the line in the end, you know, because as I said, I was surprised that they actually won the whole thing just based on what I saw. But as I said, man, yeah, they've done well to win it, and back-to-back European champions now. You know, something that the men can actually take, you know, a bit of confidence from, you would say. So, so yeah, man, big up to the England women, and yeah, champions again, you know. But yeah, guys, we're going to talk about Liverpool and Arsenal, you know. And as you guys can see in the title, you know, Liverpool and Arsenal, are they actually taking over the transfer window now? You know, and I think for me, being a Man United fan, you know, it is frustrating. And big up to Gunners fan as well for coming through. For me, it's frustrating because I just want my team to be acting in the same kind of intent, you know, judging on the season that United had just gone as well. I think if we look at the signings, Liverpool signings, as we know, Florian Wirtz, obviously for the British transfer record, Jeremy Frimpong, Milos Kerkez, and Hugo Ekatike. And again, I'm not going to get too much into it because we're going to get into it on the 6 p.m. channel, on the 6 p.m. stream, sorry, with Jonas. But obviously they're looking at they're going to get some more money into the club, and again, I want to know what that means for Liverpool moving forwards. But the 4 signings they've got in have been 4 key signings. Big up to Salim Patterson. And you look at Arsenal, although the sign of Noni Madueke for me is a concern for if I'm an Arsenal fan. But you look at Gyökeres in there now, someone that they needed to get goals, and they're going to be confident that he can provide that. Christian Norgard for me, I think Norgard is a smart signing. I'm not going to say Norgard is not a good signing, because I think he's a smart signing, because I think what Arsenal have done there, they've got cover in there for the likes of losing Thomas Partey, and again, Zubmendi's come in as well. And if Zubmendi gets injured, or Declan Rice needs a rest or gets injured, you've got someone in Norgard who's Premier League proven, and can do a job as well, and you're getting a captain from a previous team as well. So I think that's quite a smart signing from Arsenal, and didn't cost them too much either. Zubamendi we've already mentioned, and then Christian Mosquera, who again is going to be back up to Gabriel and Saliba, and he's going to offer that pace and strength that both players have, So I'm looking at both of them teams at this moment in time as, just edging the transfer window. For me, Man City, I did have Man City up there. I think in terms of transfers, I said Man City and Liverpool were the top 2. I think at this moment in time now, I would say Liverpool are definitely edging it for me. And I think Arsenal, I think if for what Arsenal are interested in, and we'll get onto it in a minute, I think if they get that signing as well, I think they could actually edge the transfer window ahead of Man City, funny enough. Because I think Man City's signings of Reinders, Ait Nouri, and Ryan Cherky has been 3 very, very good signings. I'm not going to say they haven't, but I'm just looking at it now, and the fact that Liverpool have got Ekatike in to go with the 3 they've already signed, and they're still trying to get Isak, which I don't think they'll get, but they're gonna try and push for him hard. For me, Man City need to go out and make, for me, I would say a statement signing. I think if they're gonna try and get this title back, they need to go and make a statement signing for me. And I think there's one signing that I've spoken about before that they need to make. And again, if he's not on the market, then yeah, who knows? If they're gonna do that. And that's obviously Rodrigo. But unless he comes out, or unless Madrid say they're looking to move him on, again, it's going to be a hard deal for them to go and do. But again, just staying on Man City, there's a certain player that you guys that have been watching my channel for any amount of time, I've been banging on about this player for since the start of the summer, and I think a lot of people, I haven't seen too many content creators, talking as highly about Carlos Baleba, that I've been banging the drum about Carlos Baleba for since the start of the summer, that he's the ideal profile of a player that United need. He ticks every box for me. He's left-footed, which adds the balance to the midfield. He's tenacious. He's only 21 as well. Premier League proven, press resistant. He's good at driving with the ball from deep as well, and he's box to box. He ticks every box for me that United need in that midfield. And the reason I mention him is because there's a poll that I done the other day. I said, would you take 100 million for Rodri, or even slightly less than that, in exchange for Camavinga and what's his name, and Rodrigo, And I think the poll at the moment, I think it's majority are saying yes. But I mentioned Baleba now, and I think Man City, I don't know why Man City are not looking at Baleba. Because if you look at the central midfield that City have, you've got Reinders and Rodri, yeah? Then you've got Kovacic, who obviously is getting on a bit as well. Then I look at someone like Baleba, who's left-footed, which they haven't got a left-footed central midfielder. And again, he ticks all the boxes. You know, I'm just surprised that there hasn't been many teams that have even tested Brighton's resolve. You know, I'm hearing things like, you know, he's going to cost 100 million. Again, I think people are just assuming he's going to cost that amount because how much they sold Caicedo for, how much Basuma went for. You know, these kind of players that they've sold. So I think unless Brighton come out and say, look, we're gonna sell him for that amount of money, then I think it's just a case of people just fearful that Brighton might actually say that they want that kind of a price. But for me, I think definitely I'm just surprised a lot of teams haven't gone in for this guy. And yeah, I touched on Baleba because I think not only do I think Man United should be signing him, but I'm surprised City haven't gone in for him because he would add a lot to that City midfield. You know, and if you want to rest a Rodri or a Reinders, you know, because I look at that midfield now, they got Nico O'Reilly, who I think is a very good player, but if they're going to use O'Reilly as a central midfield player rather than playing him at left back because they've got Ait Nouri now, then I think they might look at it as not going for Baleba because they're both left-footed. But if Baleba is available or they're not going to do that, I'm just surprised that they haven't at least tested Brighton's resolve, you know, and it's surprising, you know. But just going back to Liverpool and Arsenal dominating this transfer window, you know, obviously Liverpool was spoken about previously. You know, they're looking at Alexander Isak, and you know what I mean. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Isak. If I'm honest, I don't know whether Arsenal are gonna. Oh, sorry, I'm not sure whether Liverpool are gonna put the bid in, or if it's a case where I think if Liverpool get indication that Newcastle are looking to do business, then they might you know, they might put a bid in. But I think as it stands right now, you know, we're hearing that they're in talks. You know, I think the ball's in Newcastle's court, really, because Newcastle have got Isak under contract for another 3 years. So, again, as I keep saying, they're going to ask for 150, you know, and if Liverpool don't pay up 150 up front, you know, they're going to have to pay for me about 120, 130, and then the rest in add-ons, which are realistic add-ons, you know. And I just don't see Liverpool doing that. Again, we're going to touch on a 6 p.m. show. I'm going to ask Jonas for his views in regards to a certain player that's left, which is going to make them look like they're going to have some money to spend. But yeah, I'm just not sure what they're going to do. But one thing I will say, if they happen to get Isak, as I said previously, that's the title for me wrapped up, you know, and who knows? I think Champions League, why not? You know, because I've never seen a Liverpool window where they've got 5 players in and 5 players are all arguably starters. You know, they all go straight into their team from a team that has just dominated, well, I won't say dominated, but a team that just comfortably won the Premier League. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure, man, definitely to see what happens there. Guys, as I said, keep your comments coming in. I will definitely get back to all your comments once we've touched on a few other things. And as I said, make sure you sub to the channel if it's your first time in there. And make sure you smash that like button as well. But big up yourselves. Moving on to Arsenal. You know, as I said, I think the signings that Arsenal have done, I'm going to say, if I'm rating it out of 10, I'd possibly say 5 out of 10. You know, because I think for every good signing that Arsenal have done, you know, they've made a signing which for me has, you know, counteracted that in my opinion, you know. So if we look at Zubimendi and we look at Thomas Partey, that's gone. As I mentioned before, Thomas Partey, you know, you've lost his physicality, his experience in the league as well. So again, for other reasons as well, but that's Arsenal worse off for me by losing Partey. Getting Zubimendi in, you know, I think you're going to lose, as I say, Partey's physicality, but you're going to gain Zubimendi's ball-playing attributes, you know, and the fact that From that position, he does like to thread the ball straight through the centre of the pitch to create, and cut out the opposition midfield. So I think that's going to be a positive. If you're a number 10, you can expect Zubamendi to be getting the ball and trying to fizz it in to the half spaces where a number 10 should be. And then, so again, I think losing Partey's physicality, but gaining Zubamendi's ball playing ability, I think that for me doesn't take Arsenal. I don't think it takes Arsenal there. I think it keeps them at the middle, really. I don't see them better off without. I don't see them better with Partey, off without Partey, and then I don't see them improving, bringing in Zubamendi and losing Partey. So it's kind of a 50-50 signing for me at the moment. But I do like Zubamendi. I do think he's a good player, but I think Partey would be a big miss to them, especially with his physicality. Mosquera, as we know, he's more one for the future, and again, he's going to be back up. So if Saliba or Gabriel get injured, I think we're expecting Kivior to be the backup to Gabriel, being that he's left-footed, and then Mosquera will be the backup to Saliba. So I think both players will get game time, but again, it's going to be Carabao Cup, the odd league game, if they need to rest some players, if they've got an important Champions League game coming up, So again, it's more of a squad signing. Then you look at Noni Madueke. Well, let's go on Christian Norgard. I think Norgard, for me, does Norgard start in their best team? I think the way that Arteta sees it, no. I do think Norgard is a very good player, but again, he's more of a backup option for Zubamendi and for Declan Rice. I think more for Declan Rice, I would say. Because I don't see Norgard playing, as a DM. I think he plays more centrally, like what Declan Rice is doing. But again, he could cover for Zubamendi if needed as well. So I think it's more of a smart signing, but again, he's not someone that comes in and just replaces what they've got. And I think where Arsenal are at the moment, Arsenal needed someone, for me. They needed players to come straight into their team that displaces what they've already got. And again, that's how you improve the first 11, and that's how you improve the squad. Because if you've got a player that's a starter, and then the player that comes in just comes and takes their place, then again, you're strengthening your squad, and then your 11 looks more stronger. So I think the sign of Norgard he's not going to go in there and start, And the same with Mosquera. Zubamendi does come in, but you've lost Thomas Partey. So, yeah, it's one of them things where it can be seen as 50-50 signing again, And then we look at Noni Madueke, and again, a lot of you probably know my thoughts on Madueke. Sorry, guys. A lot of you probably know my thoughts on Madueke already. Yeah, so I think if I'm saying Arsenal's window for me, with the signings they've got, is if I say it's a 5 from what they've done, I think the sign of Madueke takes it down to a 4, because again, you need to bring in someone that is going to be a definite starter. And I think the amount of money that they spent on Madueke could have been used elsewhere, And again, I think if you're spending that money on Madueke, you're more or less saying that he's going to come in and start. And should he be starting ahead of Saka? No. Should he be starting ahead of Wanyeri? Not for me. Should he be starting ahead of Martinelli? I don't really rate Martinelli that highly, but I don't think he's better than Martinelli. And then Leandro Trossard. Is he better than Trossard for me? No. So I don't see why Madueke has been brought in, and I'll stick by that. Obviously Arteta has his reasons, and I think the reason he's brought Madueke in, because he's probably looking at someone that is a little bit closer to what Saka does in terms of the pace, and just the directness. And again, he's more direct than Saka, I would say. But it's just a signing that, if you're an Arsenal fan, it must be concerning, I have to say, And then, so for me, the window for me at the moment is a 4, with the sign of Madueke, because I don't believe Madueke takes them backwards off. I don't think it takes them forwards, not one bit. But then the sign of Gyökeres in terms of what they need, I think that takes them back to a 5. And a 5 out of 10 window for what Arsenal, in my opinion, needed going into this the next season. I think they need to at least hit a 7 or an 8 to compete with the likes of Liverpool, who are obviously the current champions, and what they've done in the window. So I'm going to say the Gyökeres signing brings them up to a 5, because Gyökeres, for me, is the only signing. Well, him and Zubimendi, you would say, but them losing Thomas Partey, as I said, I think it's more of a case where that's not really a positive or a negative. So I'll say Gyökeres is the only sign they've made that you would expect to go straight into their lineup, which is why I'm saying it's back up to a 5. And I think what's going to be interesting, as I keep mentioning, what's going to happen to Kai Havertz, because Arteta clearly likes Kai Havertz. He rates him highly. But Kai Havertz, for me, Kai Havertz, for me, he's their highest earner. And where is Arteta going to find a place for him? Because you have to believe Gyökeres is coming in to start. You don't spend that amount of money to have a goal scorer on the bench. But then what does that mean for Kai Havertz? And this is the problem. So whether he's going to play Kai Havertz in the 10 ahead of the captain Odegaard, which means what happens to Nwaneri, because Nwaneri, him signing that new contract, must be thinking to himself, he'll be getting game time. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I think the Gyökeres signing for me, is a positive for Arsenal in terms of what they need. Zubimendi, as I said already, and then them losing Partey, but getting Zubimendi, you're getting someone that's a ball player, but his physicality might come into question. Christian Norgard, for me, I think is a smart signing, and again, he's more of a squad option, I would say. Mosquera, against cover for the centre-backs in Saliba and Gabriel. Probably more Saliba. And then you've got Madueke for me, which I just don't understand that signing. The way that I look at it, Arsenal have got, as I said, Nwaneri, who's there coming through. They've got Saka obviously out there on the right, Martinelli and Trossard. And for me, I don't think Madueke is better than any of them. And they could have spent the money elsewhere. And as I said, I think that with that signing there, I look at it as them giving 52 million to Chelsea for free. That's the way that I look at that signing, because I don't see him making them better, And then it moves us on nicely to, I think someone else mentioned it in the chat already. And guys, keep your comments coming through. I'll definitely get back to it. Eberechi Eze. I think, there's reports obviously that Eze wants to go to Arsenal. Obviously, if anyone doesn't know anyway, Eze is a former Arsenal youth product as well. So he used to be at Arsenal. I don't know about this Eze signing, because I don't know if this Eze signing actually works, because again, Eze, as I mentioned previously, Eze is a number 10, but he can play obviously from the left, but in a certain system for me. If he's playing in a 4-3-3, he can play from the left, where there's no number 10. Or if you're playing a number 10, he can just play in that as a number 10. I think the problem that he's going to have if he comes to Arsenal is that really and truly, if you're going to buy him, you buy him to play him in the 10. But I think because Odegaard's there and they play that 3 in midfield, and sometimes Odegaard doesn't play as a 10, he plays slightly bit more deeper at times. If you're bringing in Eze, Eze's playing as a left winger when you've got a number 10 in that role already, And I think for someone like Eze's not a winger. This is why the likes of, on that side, Martinelli and Trossard play a different role to what Eze would play, because they're playing with a number 10 and Martinelli's pace is being used on that side. And Trossard's not really a winger as such, but like a Martinelli with the pace, but he's used to playing that role anyway. I think if you're going to bring Eze into Arsenal, you have to bring him in as a 10, because you can't really play him as a left winger where you've got a number 10 there ready, because he should be playing there. So, yeah. But again, He's a very good. He'll be a very good signing, regardless. But I don't think he fits Arsenal's system perfectly, in my opinion. But yeah, I think, as I said, I think definitely, man. If Arsenal do manage to get Eze, I think I'd have to say, in terms of the window, you'd have to put Arsenal just behind Liverpool in terms of the transfer window. So I'm looking at transfer window to in terms of ratings. I think Liverpool's business that they've done. I'm gonna go as far and say that's an 8 out of 10 window for me for Liverpool. I think if they get Isak, that's a 10 out of 10 because again they've signed 4 players for me that go straight into their lineup. You know, and if they get Isak, which again I don't want to believe, and I don't think it's gonna happen, you'd have to say that's a 10 out of 10 window. And I'll go as far and saying that's probably one of the best, if not the best, transfer window that a team's had. I think it's that key because you bring in Frimpong. Frimpong's going to be a starter, or he should be. Same with Kirkes. Florian Wirtz definitely. Ekatike. I think as the striker, yep. And then again, if you get Isak, he's definitely a starter. But I think Ekatike will start as well in probably one of the wide positions on the left. With a certain Luis Diaz going as well, which we'll get on, which we'll get into, as I said, at 6 p.m. today with Jonas. But yeah, that'll be a 10 for me. I think City's window for me at this moment in time is a 7 with the signings they've made. Again, if they get a Rodrigo, let's say they manage to get a Baleba, which again they haven't been linked to, then for me that takes their window up to a 9 to a 10, definitely. And again, Arsenal's window for me is a 5 because the Madueke signing drops it down. As I said, Mosquera. Well, if they get Eze in, I'll take it up to a 6. I would say. But the Mosquera one's a squad player, so it doesn't really move the needle. The same with Norgard. I think it's more of a squad option. Zubamendi, yeah, makes it a 5. Madueke takes it to a 4. Gyökeres takes it back up to a 5 for me. And then if they get Eze, I'll say a 6. So if I'm looking at those 3 teams, yeah, that's how I'd rank it in that order, But guys, big up yourselves. Make sure you smash the like if you're coming through. Again, smashing the like button helps the channel to grow. We've got 10 likes at the moment. There's 12 of you in there at the moment. So again, if you haven't subbed to the channel, make sure you do. And again, keep giving me your questions. So I'm going to go through your questions right now, guys. And big up yourselves. So big up to Lumi says, come on, you Gunners, winners of the transfer window. Yeah, so LOL. Yeah, I think Liverpool are still edging that one comfortably for me. But I think it's the intent that Arsenal are showing. They're showing that they want to sign players, but I just still can't get over that Madueke signing. So that's where it's gonna keep it low for me in that sense, But again, they are showing good intent, and that's all that can be asked, really. When you think about it. Lumi says, Gav, I think you are 2 good signings away from saying you've had a good window. Need to get rid of the players that have bad attitude first, though. So obviously talking about Man United. Yeah, listen, I'm gonna get more into that. As I said on the 6 o'clock stream with Jonas. So obviously, I'm a Man United fan. He's a Liverpool fan. So we'll discuss a bit more at 6 o'clock about both our teams. But I mean, to be honest with you, from what you're saying, personally, I think it's more than 2 signings, if I'm honest, I think the outgoings are more important for me, but I'm going to say it's more than 2 signings. But again, yeah, make sure you come through at 6 o'clock and we'll discuss that a bit more on that stream. But big up. Yeah, big up to the England women's, man, winning that trophy against Spain, which I didn't see that happening, but yeah. So Celine Patterson says, I'm Archie. Also, you're going to hate me because I'm a Chelsea fan. No, I'm not going to hate you because you're a Chelsea fan. Listen, any fan can come in, man, because this channel is not just about Man United, my favorite, obviously the team that I support. It's about any team you support, and you've got football talk. Yeah, bring it through, man. Big up. So Lumi says, a lot of players speak so highly of Madueke. What do they see what us fans don't? Well, Lumi, what players are this? I'd like to know what players these players are, because um, you know, if it's certain players then that I don't really rate, then yeah, it's not going to mean much. As I said, Madueke for me, you know, I think he's very direct. You know, he's got pace, but his decision making, you know, is poor. You know, I think that's what lets him down more than anything, is his decision making. You know, he doesn't know when to pass or to shoot or to cross. You know, and he's very one dimensional for me. You know, and again, for what I see, what Arsenal need to do to try and get a title or a Champions League isn't Noni Madueke. You know, and this is what the issue is. But yeah, I'm not a fan of him, to be honest with you. You know. So Gunners fan says, if Mosquera is good on headers, he can be perfect for us on corners with Gabriel. So, oh, so you're resulting back to that now, that Route 1 football. I'm pretty sure the amount of money Arsenal spent, Gunners fan, man, you guys don't want to be seeing that, you know. But as I said, he's going to be backup for Gabriel and for Saliba anyway. So, more for Saliba, because obviously he's right-footed, I would say, you know. So, I know he plays left-sided for Valencia as a centre-back, but I think because Kivior's there and Kivior's left-footed, I think he's going to be more backup for Saliba. Yeah, so but again, I think it's more signing for the future. I think it's more of a signing just in case Saliba moves on, because Saliba hasn't signed a new contract yet. I think Saliba's gonna look at what happens this season, in my opinion, because he's gonna have a lot of suitors for him if Arsenal don't do nothing again, and he hasn't signed that contract. So maybe they're making a contingency plan in case Saliba goes. Mosquera was a great signing because we didn't need improvement in defence, just a promising backup player. We got him at a great price. And again, as I said, yeah, he's more of a squad option, you know. Lumi Rain says, Rodrigo to City is a good shout. It's a great shout. It's a great shout. I think you look at City, their team now, they're crying out for a left winger because Grealish is obviously going to be going. And then that means they've only got Doku out there. I know Marmoush can play out there, but if they want to go and get someone that is a natural in that position, you know, and someone that's regarded for me as one of the best players in his position, you know, I know he's been playing on the right hand side for Real Madrid. Rodrigo's the ideal player for me, you know, if he was available, you know, because he would suit that system perfectly. So yeah, he'd be a great signing for them, in my opinion. Big up to Masood Azizi as well. Gunners fan says, Liverpool need more defensive players, a centre-back and a CDM. Yeah, I agree. I think definitely another centre-back. And I'll be very surprised if... and I'll look at it as well. If Liverpool don't go in and get another centre-back, I think that could leave them in trouble, you know. Joe Gomez, as we know, he's someone that can fill in, obviously, left-back, right-back and centre-back. But would you be confident, if you're a Liverpool fan, having Joe Gomez if Van Dijk or Konate get injured for the majority of the season? You know, would you be confident in Joe Gomez, you know, nailing down a position and you guys going for a league title or a Champions League? You know, I think a lot of Liverpool fans would definitely be worried. Gravenberch as well can play centre-back. And if you watch what Arne Slot does, whenever Liverpool are behind, you know, or if they need to go and get a goal and get an extra attacker on. If you watch what Slot does, Slot normally drops a defender and then puts Gravenberch back at centre-back to get another attacker on. Because Gravenberch obviously is a ball player midfielder. And I think Slot likes his build-up play from deeper. So, yeah, I think something like that he could do. But I think if Liverpool just go and get another defender, at least that gives them more cover. You know, obviously there's been links to Mark Guehi, but nothing's really materialised at the moment. But for me, they definitely need to go and get another centre-back for cover for, or even competing with Konate. Obviously, Van Dijk's the captain, so he's going to play. You know, so... Karumi says Liverpool the best. I think in terms of the transfer window, you know, you can't really argue with that. Because, again, it's been a great transfer window for them. And if they get Isak, that just tops it off, man. So, yeah, one to watch. We definitely need Eze or another left winger. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Gunners fan. I think the thing is with the thing is with me, I don't really know why they're targeting Eze, if I'm honest. Because unless you're gonna play Eze in the 10, which I don't think he's gonna do, I think that Eze's signing could be wasted because Eze's not a left winger. He's not. He's in a 4-3-3 from the left, yeah, or a number 10. So I'm just surprised they're not going for an actual out and out winger, someone that's an upgrade on Martinelli and Trossard. That's what I'm surprised about. But again, they probably know something that we don't, you know. Um, Victor Gyökeres will score a hat trick versus his previous manager. Well, listen, if he does, then yeah, it's gonna be bad day at the office for Amorim and obviously for United fans. But I don't think he scores a hat trick personally on his debut. I don't think he does. But again, he's gonna make them, probably more potent in the final third. But again, he's gonna have to adapt to what Arsenal want to do and prove that he's got what it takes to play in the Premier League. So he's got it all to do. The pressure will be on. But yeah, if he gets a hat trick against Man United, then yeah, that's mad. That's absolutely mad. But I can't see it happening. As I said, I think United will draw the game at home. As I mentioned yesterday, if United don't get a positive result, I'm gonna say a draw. Obviously a win would be great, but if they don't get a positive result, it's gonna put pressure on the next game because the Fulham game, they're gonna have to go there and win, and away at Fulham's not easy. So it's gonna put pressure on United if they don't at least get a draw in this game against Arsenal. So yeah, it's mad. Lumi says Zubi is an upgrade on Partey. Norgard upgrade on Jorginho. Kepa upgrade on goalkeeper. Backup. Gyökeres missing piece of the puzzle. Madueke puts less demand on Saka so we can rest him more. And big up to Lumi for the comment. So when what I would say from what you said, Zubimendi for me, he's an upgrade on Partey in terms of on the ball. Thomas Partey isn't bad on the ball. He's actually decent on the ball, but I think Zubimendi is probably slightly better than him on the ball in terms of his passing, in terms of his composure on the ball. But the physicality is going to be a massive thing. And as I said, Thomas Partey offered a lot of physicality to that midfield. Because if you look at Martin Odegaard, he's not that physically strong. Who normally plays in there. Declan Rice is a bit of both. He's got the athleticism, Declan Rice. But Thomas Partey offered that physicality for Arsenal. So I think you're losing his physicality, as I've mentioned, but gaining Zubimendi's ball playing. So it's difficult because I don't think that takes Arsenal better than what they were because you're losing something from Partey but gaining something for Zubimendi. Norgard upgrade on Jorginho. I think in terms of legs, yeah. But again, Jorginho had the experience, especially in the big games as well. So I can see why you say he's an upgrade, definitely in terms of getting around the pitch. But again, Jorginho's experience, played Champions League. He's won league titles as well, which Norgard hasn't done. So that might be a factor in the experience. Yeah, Kepa, again, I forgot about him. He's going to be a backup to David Raya, And then Gyökeres, as I said, Gyökeres, for me, is the... Gyökeres, the one signing that Arsenal will look at as someone that might take them better than what they were because of his numbers. But again, he's still got it to prove because he hasn't done it in the Premier League before. He has got a couple of goals in Champions League, but Premier League is going to be different. He'll be playing up against defenders that can match his physicality and his pace. So yeah, he's got it all to do for me. And but it is a positive signing. And Madueke, I understand, puts less demand on Saka. But the problem is that when you're signing someone for 52 million, I'm expecting him to be starting. So, because I just can't see someone that's been spent 52 million pounds on the bench. And I think if he starts, that means Arteta is going away from the inverted. Because as we know, he plays Martinelli and Trossard on that side to invert. So if you play Madueke, he's not going to be playing ahead of Saka. And he's left-footed. So that means he's going to have to play on the left-hand side. and this whole inverting is finished. Unless you're playing Madueke to put crosses in for Gyökeres. But again, Madueke is very selfish, so I'm just not sure how that's going to work. You know, if it's a case of resting Saka, you know, then fair enough. But does that really take Arsenal in comparison to probably what was out there that they could have got? Who knows? As Gunners fans said, yeah, we need an upgrade on Martinelli. I agree. Arsenal Pakistan cricket team fan, big up, says Norgard is dangerous from set pieces and he's a good backup. As I said, backup, yep. Gunners fan says I'd sign Lobotka as backup midfielder for Arsenal in career mode. So Stanislav Lobotka, Slovakian international. Yeah, I mean, in terms of the signings now for Arsenal midfield, you'd think that's done now. I think if they get one, I think they'll get one more player, and it could be an Eze or someone else, in my opinion. I think that's their business done. Let's see. So Noni is great if he's just depth. If he's brought in the 11, I won't be happy. But yeah, but again, Lumi, what you have to look at is the money that he's cost. So if he's cost that amount of money, you know, because I agree, he's not a he's not a starter. But when you're spending that kind of money, he has to start, really, when you think about it, because why go and sign him? Because they could have used that money on someone else. You know, if they want Eze, they could have used that money on Eze and a bit more. You know, and you're getting a better player than what Madueke is. So yeah, I just don't get that. It's mad. Big up to Hubert. Hubert says Messi or Ronaldo. Messi. Keep getting these questions all the time, man. It's mad. Lumi Rain says, also, I hope Madueke doesn't get in the way of Wanyeri and Dalman in a few years getting important game time. So, yeah, I mean, I think whether fans like it or not, he's going to be. Because, I mean, as I keep mentioning, man, Wanyeri is a central player. Plays as a 10, but can play, obviously, off that right. You think now with the sign of Madueke, you know, being obviously Saka's over there, Madueke will be second choice to Saka on that side, which means Wanyeri gets pushed further down the pecking order. And in that 10, obviously Martin Odegaard's there. And if Kai Havertz is not playing as that 9 and Gyökeres is playing there, Havertz is a number 10 anyway. So Havertz might be second choice to Odegaard. So that means Wanyeri could be third choice for both positions. And then Dalman, you know, Dalman's obviously only 15 years of age. Unless Odegaard moves on, you know, or... Yeah, well, obviously Dalman's a 10 for me. But unless Odegaard moves on, you know, Dalman and Wanyeri, for me, won't be up the pecking order. Because, again, Odegaard's the captain. And Arteta loves Odegaard. So, yeah. It's one to watch, that's what I would say. This is why I said I'm a bit surprised Wanyeri didn't go on loan or sign that new contract. Because if Arteta starts playing him regularly ahead of Odegaard, I'll be surprised. And I'll be like, well, fair enough. But I can't really see that. So, yeah. Gabriel Jesus turned into R9 against Palace. Just sell Havertz. When Gabriel Jesus plays, he makes an impact. So, Jesus turned into R9. I'm not sure what you're watching there, Arsenal Pakistan cricket team. But, yeah, he's not selling Havertz. Havertz is ahead of Gabriel Jesus. Gabriel Jesus is the one that is more likely to get sold ahead of Havertz, you know. And again, Gabriel Jesus is going to be a bench player. And again, Gabriel Jesus is on about 260 a week. So how's he going to deal with being a bench player? Because, as I said, you got Gyökeres there now. And both of them ain't going to play. Unless you're going to play Gabriel Jesus from the left. But if you play Jesus from the left, you've got Trossard, you've got Martinelli on the bench. You know, Madueke could probably be on the bench as well. So, yeah, like, all of a sudden, you got Wanyeri on the bench. So, all of a sudden, Havertz might be on the bench. I mean, in terms of attacking-wise, you've got a lot of depth there. But, yeah, if yeah, a lot of players are gonna miss out. Put it that way. It might look good in terms of the squad, but how long is that gonna last for? So this is the problem that Arsenal are gonna have. This is why I think the Madueke signing is very odd. You know. Big up to cool username says, "Come on, you Spurs." Well, I think obviously the news around Gibbs White signing a new contract for Nottingham Forest, an extra 3 years. Yeah, I think Tottenham must be surprised at that one for sure, man. But I mean, I didn't see that happening. I mean, I don't know how you can agree a deal with a player, and then all of a sudden he's got a new contract at his current club. That's just odd. But yeah, something's gone on there. But yeah, it's mad. It is mad. So Lumi says, once the games start coming in thick and fast, I'm happy with our depth. We have enough quality players that can prevent us overplaying our key players. And Lumi, again, I agree. I think the depth that Arsenal have now is actually good depth. But the problem is, how are you going to keep all those players happy? Because if we're looking at Arsenal's two highest earners in Gabriel Jesus and Havertz, the way it looks, both of them are going to be on the bench. So Arsenal's wage structure is mad when you think about it, because I think the majority of Arsenal fans would agree. I think they'd agree that you've got two players in Havertz and Jesus, with the signings that have been made now. They're both comfortably on the bench, you would say. And if I'm wrong, put that in the chat, because I've never seen um, I've never seen a team where your two highest earners are comfortably on the bench in Havertz and Jesus. So that's one to watch, because how long can you keep them unhappy for? So Gunners fan says Marino's finish against Newcastle was so good, I don't mind him as a backup striker too. So you're gonna have Gyökeres, Havertz, Jesus, and Marino as four strikers. Yeah, I can't see that happening. Mikel Marino is gonna be competing with Declan Rice for a midfield position, and again Declan Rice is gonna be ahead of him. So yeah, they got. I forgot about him. Another player on the bench. They've got mad depth, but I don't know how you're gonna keep all those players happy. That's what I will say. But one thing I would say is that if Arsenal do get injuries, at least they're gonna have players that can come in. So yeah. Big up to Gamer Girl. Gamer Girl says, "How about Man City?" So yeah, I've touched on Man City already. As I said, Man City, their transfer window for me has been I'm gonna say a 6 or a 7. Their transfer window. I think if they get a Rodrigo, a Baleba, as I mentioned earlier, that takes their window for me up to a 9 or a 10. Definitely. So, but yeah, no, I think at this moment in time, Liverpool are the favourites for me. It was. I think City for me are still second, but if Arsenal happen to get an Eze, then I think they might slightly be above City. I would say. Yeah, that's how I'm going to look at it, I think. Lumi says, Marino did very good in an unnatural position, but I think Kai made our team a lot better. Yeah, but again, you got two players there that are not going to start. This is the thing. The squad looks strong, but I don't know how you're going to keep all those players happy, Arteta. And that's one thing he's gonna have to juggle good, because as I said, there's players there, man, that will be expecting to play. And if we look at Arsenal's best, again, let's go through it, yeah. If we look at Arsenal's best team and the team that I think Arteta is going to play, so the back four picks itself. The back four and the goalkeeper picks itself. David Raya in goal, Urian Timber at right back, Lewis Skelly at left back, and Saliba and Gabriel making up that back five. And again, you got Calafiori. That was some money that was spent on him. You know, Calafiori doesn't even start. So what's going to happen to him? Because he's looking like a flop right now, because Lewis Skelly's come from nowhere, from the youth, and Lewis Skelly has to start at left back. So that means Calafiori, for me, again, another wasted signing. Because you'd think Calafiori can play left back and centre back. If Kivior's backing up Gabriel, you know, as a left-footed centre back, Lewis Skelly's a left back, and then you've got Zinchenko still there. Who would have thought Calafiori would be backing up Lewis Skelly at left back? So again, that's another one to watch. Midfield, I think, picks itself as well. I think he's going to play Zubamendi, Declan Rice, and Odegaard. And in the front three, we're expecting to see Saka, Gyökeres. And then I think for the money they spent on Madueke, you would think Madueke starts. But again, from what Arteta's been doing with the inverted, you think it's going to be Martinelli. Which again, if you look at the bench, you've got Havertz, Jesus, Marino, Norgard, Wanyeri, Trossard, Madueke. 7 players on the bench that they'll be very surprised if they are on the bench. I'd say, you know. So yeah, that's mad. That is mad. It's mad depth, but is it going to be a good thing? Gunners fan says Liverpool can struggle defensively if Konate or Van Dijk are injured. They will struggle too much. Yeah, I agree. I think it's one to watch. I think they have to go and get a defender. I'd be very surprised if they don't get a defender, because I can see Liverpool signing at least another 2 players, you know. And again, if they sign another 2 players in key positions, like, that's a mad window for them. And I'll go as far as saying, as I said, it'd be the best window that a team's ever had. You know, they're looking at Isak, as we know. But a defender, for me, I think them getting a defender in is more important than getting Isak, because it just takes one injury to a Van Dijk or Konate, and their whole defensive plan is out the window. So, yeah. Big up to Pug Sparks. Pug Spark 2 says, where you position Man City this season? Are they still contenders of the title? I mean, as I said to you already, I think Liverpool are favourites for me now with that sign of Ekatike. If they get Isak, the title's a wrap for me. I think City, for them to get back into contention with Liverpool, as I mentioned, they've got to go and sign a Rodrigo for me. You know, maybe if they go and get Baleba as well to add to that midfield. You know, but I think they need one signing, one world-class signing in Rodrigo. If they get a Baleba, let's say, which I'm not saying they will, he's just a name I mentioned because I want Man United to sign him, but he'd fit in at City as well. I think if they do that, then I'd say them two back for the title. But I know for me, Chelsea are still battling with Arsenal. You know, for me, I think still City and Liverpool, I'm going to say top 2. But Arsenal and Chelsea are pushing them close. And again, Chelsea are looking to close the signing of Dutch duo Xavi Simons and Yorel Hato. I think they're 2 players that are more for the future for me. Are they 2 players that come in and take Chelsea to another level? I think in the future they could do, but I'm not going to say right now. So this is why I'm saying I'll put Chelsea at 3rd with Arsenal. But again, if Chelsea go out and get someone again that they wasn't linked to and is a starter, which is going to be hard for that team, then again, you have to put them up there with Liverpool and City. But I do expect City to do more business. And again, Liverpool are looking at doing more business, and I think they will as well. And Arsenal, as we know, are still looking at getting an Eze in. So, yeah, I think those 4 teams there, though, I think it's safe to say they're the 4 teams that will be competing for the top 4 positions. I think Newcastle have a lot to do, especially if Isak was to go, you know. And then the others, I just don't see them bridging that gap because those 4 are showing the most intent in the window, you know. But yeah, I'm going to say City at this moment in time. I'm going to keep them 2nd, you know. But again, things could change. Yeah, big up Gamer Girl, man. Big up to, as I said, the England women's for winning that Euros as well. Gav, what about Chelsea's transfer window? How much do you rate it? So I'm gonna say Chelsea's transfer window for me. Who have they signed? So they've signed João Pedro, Liam Delap, Bino Gittins. Esteval's not a signing because he was signed before, so I'm not going to include him. He'd be coming back, obviously, from his loan at Palmeiras. Asugo. They're trying to get Hato and Xavi Simons. I mean, that's a lot of signings they've made. You know, I think if we look at all those players that they've signed, I think there's only possibly one player out of all those players that comfortably starts in their best team, and that's João Pedro. So, yeah, it's difficult because they've made a lot of signings in numbers, but I'm looking at improving the first team. This is why for me, City and Liverpool are up there, because City have signed 3 players that go straight into their lineup for me in Ait Nouri, Reinders and Cherki. The same with Liverpool. They've signed Kirkes, Frimpong, Wirtz and Ekatike that goes straight into their lineup. And then Arsenal have signed 1 player, realistically, that goes into their lineup. Chelsea, for me, have signed 1 in João Pedro. So, again, I'm going to put their window about a 6, because the players that they're linked with, again, Hato and Xavi Simons, I like both players. I think both players are very good. But Hato's not going to start. And Xavi Simons, I think Simons starts by default on that left-hand side, because I don't think he's what Chelsea actually need, if I'm honest. In terms of being a very good footballer, I agree. But I think they were looking at Morgan Rogers, and again, Rogers starts from in that left-hand side. So I think Xavi Simons, for them, is more of a backup signing, because I think Rogers would have been the main target. So, yeah, I'm going to say their window's a 6 for me. Lumi says Rice and Cole Palmer have both said he still surprised a lot of people this season. Who's that? Is that Madueke you're talking about? Yeah, I'll be honest. I rate Cole Palmer highly, and but I'm not gonna listen to what they say. Like, if they think Madueke is a good player, if that's who you're talking about, then fair enough. But no, not for me, man. Definitely not for me. I don't rate him that highly at all. But again, obviously England teammates, they got to big it up, haven't they? So yeah. Gav, how many goals and assists do you think Victor Gyökeres will get us? So again, I think I've answered this before. If we're just doing goals, I'm not going to go assists. I expect Gyökeres to get, in all competitions this season, I think a minimum target of 20. I think that's fair. I think in his first season, I think 20 goals in all comps, you know, whether he gets 10 in the league or 15 in the league, you know, and then 5 Champions League or the Cups, whatever. I think 20 as a minimum target is what he should be aiming for. If we're looking at goals and assists together, 25, 30 probably combined, you know. I think that's fair, if I'm honest, for Gyökeres. Gav, how many starts do you think Noni will have at Arsenal? Big up to Tekka's boy as well. How many starts do I think Noni gets at Arsenal? Again, it's difficult because the money that's been spent on him, you would assume he starts. I think if you're looking at a 38-game Premier League season, you know, if he stays clear of injury, I don't know, 20, 25. I'm basing it on what they've on how much they spent on him, because I think if he gets less than 25 starts in the league, again, that's concerning to spend that amount of money on a player that has less than 25 starts. So I'm gonna say about 25 starts I'd expect him to get if we're looking at him as a starter. You know, that's what I'm gonna say. Gav, is Marino top 10 centre mid in the Premier League? No. No. No, he's not. I mean, let's go through them. So if we look at central midfielders in the league, Rodri. If we go, let's go Man City. So they've got Rodri, they've got Reinders. That's already two. I'd say Kovacic ahead of him as well. So that's three. That's three players already. If we go to Chelsea, Caicedo is better than him. That's four. Romeo Lavia, if he's fit, is five. You'd say Enzo Fernandez as well, six. Let's go to City, not City, to Liverpool. Gravenberch is better than him. That's seven. Alexis McAllister, eight. Even at his own team, Arsenal, they'd probably say Declan Rice, nine. I think he's a better footballer than Declan Rice, but I think the majority would say that Declan Rice is better. So that's nine. Zubamendi, you could say his own team as a midfielder, 10. If Thomas Partey was there, definitely 11. But he's obviously gone. And that's just the four teams. And then you go into Newcastle, Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, Beleba at Brighton. Who else is there? I'm trying to think of other teams. Tottenham, you could say like the likes of Basuma, Bentancur. So yeah, he's definitely not top 10. I've named 10 already easily that are better than him as a central midfielder. But I think as a squad player, he's valuable. That's what I will say. So Lumi says they both said that about Manu. I do think they are just supporting him as a friend rather than rating him. Yeah, listen, they're compatriots. They're gonna have to do that. But the fact of the matter is, yeah, I just don't understand that signing, and I'll stick by that. So Tekker's Boy says, will Liverpool win the league again? I think at this moment in time, they're the favourites. That's what I will say. And if they get Isak, they've gone clear, 100%. So I'm looking forward to this transfer window because there's still a bit of time left. And again, City have agreed to buy back James Trafford. Which means that Ortega's going to go, and they're going to have Edison and Trafford. But City need to make, for me, as I mentioned earlier, a standout signing for them to be considered as battling Liverpool again for the favourites tag, Gav, is Odegaard overrated in your opinion? I mean, that's difficult because if we're talking about, is he overrated in a sense of how people see him in comparison to other midfielders? I'm not sure. I think Odegaard is a good football player. He's a very good football player. But if I look at what Arsenal have had previously in that position, in the likes of Mesut Ozil, Odegaard's nowhere near Mesut Ozil as a player. And I do think Odegaard is a very good footballer. In terms of technical number 10s, he's more of a number 8, but can obviously play as a number 10. I think in terms of technique, he's up there for me in terms of technique. But in terms of his impact for Arsenal in games where it matters, he isn't that level for me. And as I said, you've had Mesut Ozil in that same position, and Odegaard's not better than Ozil for me. So it depends what you're saying in terms of overrated. Because do I look at Odegaard, and let's remember as well, yeah, when people say, is he the best number 10 in Europe? Many teams don't play the number 10 now, unfortunately. And this is why the game, for me, has gone away from what it used to be. Because there's to be pure number 10s, But Odegaard is probably one of the very few that plays as a number 10 in the system. If you look at Chelsea, they play with a 10 in Cole Palmer, even though I think Cole Palmer's better from the right. Liverpool don't really play with a 10 unless they're going to play Wirtz there now. Is Odegaard better than Wirtz? Not for me. Is he better than Cole Palmer? Not for me. Is he better than Bruno Fernandes? I think he's better than Bruno Fernandes as a football player. And again, this is no bias for Man United against Arsenal, because again, Arsenal are Man United's, along with Liverpool, biggest rivals. But do I think Odegaard's a better player than Bruno? I do. I do. I think Bruno gets more numbers, but there's a reason for that. But in terms of a footballer and what I like to watch, Odegaard's a better footballer than Bruno for sure. You know, but again, many teams don't play with tens. So again, as a footballer, I rate him. As a player that is going to get Arsenal to winning trophies when it matters, I don't think he's going to do that. So yeah. So Lumi says, I've never known of a player as obsessed with scoring goals than Gyökeres. It's elite mentality. Odegaard said anything he can do to help Gyökeres, said all he needs help with is assists. But yeah, as I said, like, it's all well and good saying that. He's got the proofs in the pudding, man. He's got to prove it in the Premier League. I know he's done it in Portugal, but again, you'd think him coming to the Premier League with the physicality that the Premier League has in terms of defenders, you know, we're gonna see what he's gonna do, you know. And if he does score goals, then that can only help Arsenal in winning the bigger trophies. So, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see, man. It's still early days, put it that way. So, Gavin, which teams do you think Gyökeres doesn't start at? That's a difficult question to ask. I mean, if you look at Newcastle, is he better than Isak? No. Could he start? I mean, the thing is, it's a difficult question to answer because what I would say is there's a lack of strikers in general, you know, and if you've got a striker that's scoring goals, then, you know, a lot of teams will just take that. Of course they would. But I think what the better question is to ask Arsenal and Pakistan cricket team. What strikers do I think Gyökeres is? So who do I think is better than Gyökeres as a striker? So I think for what Erling Haaland has done in terms of his consistent numbers, again, I don't think Haaland's a great player, but he's probably the one striker in world football that gets away with not having to be a great striker in build-up play because he just scores a phenomenal rate of goals, you know. But in terms of that, I think Haaland ahead of Gyökeres, Isak for me ahead of Gyökeres. Again, Lewandowski and Harry Kane are getting on, but they've proven season after season that, you know, they're better than Gyökeres. They're proven. Who else is there? I mean, again, there's not really many strikers. I mean, I'm not going to include Mbappe because Mbappe is not a natural striker for me. So I'm looking at natural number nines. You know, yeah. I think if you're looking at the top strikers in the world, Osimhen, is he better than Osimhen? There's nothing in it really. You know, I mean, as a footballer, I rate Ivan Toney ahead of him, 100%, 100% Ivan Toney. But as I said, yeah, it's hard to say what team does he fit into because he fits he does he not get in does he not get into? I mean, if you're a team that hasn't got a striker, then you're gonna take Gyökeres because he does get goals. You know, I'll reiterate what I said earlier before. I didn't want him at Man United because what Man United need for me is not someone that is totally reliant on goals because you've got goals from wide areas in Embuemo and Cunha. And again, Gyökeres does get assists from what people have been mentioning, but I'm looking at skill set, and again, I prefer a striker that's going to facilitate for the wide players because Gyökeres coming in, you would assume he's going to be the main goal getter, but that's just going to take away from an Embuemo or a Cunha for me. So I think Arsenal's the perfect team for Gyökeres because you've got Odegaard who look to create. You know, you've got wide forwards in you've got a wide or a winger in Martinelli. You know, And then you've got Saka, who does get the majority of their goals, but can provide for this striker as well. So I think Arsenal's perfect for Gyökeres, in my opinion. You know. So the way I see Madueke is 52 million invested in Saka. If that 50 million keeps Saka fit and fresh, then trust me, that's worth it. Saka at his best is amazing. But again, if you want to rest Saka and bring Madueke in, that takes Arsenal down a level for me. This is the problem. What Arsenal needs to go and do, especially spending that amount of money on Madueke, they needed to get someone that could have pushed Saka out the team. This is how you get better. You don't go and buy someone just because you want to not get that player to take over from Saka, or you want to play him if you want to rest him. For Arsenal to go to the next level, you need to go and get someone that's better than him. So that way, if he's competing with Saka for a starting place and one of them on the bench, that person's going to be itching to get on and show what they can do. And that's how you improve your 11. That's how you improve your squad. I look at Madueke as someone that isn't going to push Saka because he's not better than Saka. And again, he's only going to play in that position, in my opinion, if Arteta wants to rest Saka or if Saka gets injured. So this is what I think. And for that amount of money, that money could have been spent elsewhere. This is the problem. So Gunners fan said I would loan Wanyeri to Fulham. Yeah, I hear it, but he signed a new contract, so he's most probably staying there. Yeah, Lumi, listen, no worries, man. You're in there most times, so yeah, listen. If you want to get it off your chest, really, about Arsenal, then again, you guys are making intent in the window, so yeah, it is what it is. Tekker's boy says, who would you like to see play in the Prem? What, from a current player now? There's loads. Rodrigo, Camavinga, they're the two that I would say right now. Obviously, like Yamal, but Yamal's never going. So, yeah, it's hard to say, really. It's hard to say because if we're looking at players that might be leaving, then I think Rodrigo possibly, Camavinga. I can't think of no one else, but yeah, there's loads of players let's see. Pedri, I'd love to see in the Premier League. But these guys are not leaving Barcelona because they're already playing for the top team, for one of the top teams in the world. So, yeah. So Lumi says, what team do you think could surprise us this season? I think Brighton could finish top 7. Top 7? Bloody hell, I'm not sure if Brighton finished top 7. I think the top 4 we've already spoken about is Liverpool, City, Chelsea, Arsenal. That's the top 4 already. Then you got to look at Newcastle, Man United. I want to put in there. Aston Villa. That's already 7. Tottenham. I think Thomas Frank will be good for them. So yeah, that's already top teams already there. So I think if Brighton get top 7, then again, man, that's mad because you have to look at this manager and think, he's a top manager because that top 7 is not going to be easy to do. So I have seen a team like that. Man United's highest earners are also like that. Yep. Yeah, I agree. Right, I'm just going to skim through some of your chat, guys, before we wrap. But big up yourselves each and every time. We've got 17 likes in there. So if you haven't smashed the like button, make sure you do. And again, if you haven't subbed to the channel, make sure you sub, guys, also. Just going to skim through some of your messages. Big up to SVR9 says, bro, what's the news about Benjamin Sesko? Where is he going? So ESFI, if you're still in the chat, I'm going to be back at 6 p.m. tonight. So yeah, come on the channel then and we discuss that a bit more. Because I said, I'm going to be on there with Jonas, one of my guests. So we're going to be discussing Liverpool Man United a bit later at 6 p.m. But big up yourself for your comment. Let's see. Big up to Crawley Eagle as well. Big up, bro, for coming on. Gav, who will win the AFCON? I mean, you'd have to say the front runners are going to be Ivory Coast, Nigeria. Ghana, um, Senegal. I mean, yeah, I think though. I think between those four, Ghana, Senegal, Ivory Coast, or Nigeria, I think they're always the front runners for it. Again, you can never rule out Algeria as well. Oh, he's got Egypt as well. Oh, do you know what? It's tough. It's tough. I forgot about Algeria and Egypt. But I think Algeria, for me, I think Riyad Mahrez obviously is, was their key player. He's obviously getting on now. Egypt, Salah, Marmoush, probably a few other players as well. Yeah, it's going to be tough, man. Do you know what? I can't actually and I can't actually say who I think is going to win it. But for what Senegal done against England in that friendly, Senegal look good. And they got some good players there, man. Ismail Assar, Lamine Kamara at Monaco. The left back, El Hadji Malik Diouf, just gone to West Ham. Nicholas Jackson, Iliman Ndiaye as well. Koulibaly. They've got some good players, man. Obviously, what's his name? Edouard Mendy in goal as well. There's probably a few other players I've missed out, but they got some good players, so I think they could fancy their chances, definitely. Chelsea haven't moved the needle and need to coach youngsters so they remain inconsistent this season. Yeah, listen, I think, as I said, they've only got one player in for me from the signings that you definitely say starts, and that's João Pedro for me. Gav, which manager will be the first to be sacked in your opinion? I mean, do you know what? Yeah, it's funny actually, but I can't look past Ruben Amorim. No, I can't look past it because that last season was unacceptable, and it's not going to go lost amongst a lot of fans. I don't care what anyone says. I think that season was unacceptable, and it's for me. I don't want to hear about he hasn't got his own players. For Man United to be finishing where they did, losing that Europa League final, for me, it's not about the players as such. It's about the manager, because the manager didn't get United over the line that final. He didn't, and his substitutions in that final was a joke as well, how late he made them. Didn't change the course of the game, really, with his decisions. And again, the finish that United finished in was embarrassing. So I can't look no further than Ruben Amorim. And as I said, and I'll keep saying, these 5 games are crucial because the next 5 after that are not easy. But if he doesn't get good results in them 5 games, he's under pressure, and rightfully so. So, yeah. So I can't look past Ruben Amorim for me, unfortunately. So Arsenal and Pakistan cricket team thinks Gyökeres will get 45 goals. You think he'll get 45 goals in all comps? Boy, listen, this ain't the Portuguese league. If he gets 45 goals in his first season, I think hats off to him, man. That'd be a very good season, especially his first season. 45 goals, and there's a lot of goals to get in your first season, So if he does do that, then fair enough. Can I see that happening? I can't. I think 20 is a good place to start for me for Gyökeres, but 45 is a lot. So yeah, we have to wait and see on that one. Gav, do you have Palace in top 6? No, I don't. I mean, no, I don't. Especially if they lose at Eze, maybe a Mateta. Definitely not. But yeah, guys, as I said, that top 8 is difficult, and for me, if Palace even get 10th, or Brighton get 10th or 9th, they've had a great season, because that top 8 is not going to be easy to predict, because you're looking at some top teams that are missing out if they don't get into the top 10, into the top 8. So, yeah, it's mad. Gavin, how many years do you think a newly promoted team will win the Premier League in the same season? It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. There ain't going to be no team, especially not in my lifetime, that gets promoted and wins the league straight away. That's never going to happen. The gap between the Premier League, especially the top teams, and teams getting promoted is getting even bigger. So, yeah, that's never going to happen. Never. I know you can never say never, but in this instance, I'm going to have to say that, because yeah, that's not gonna happen for me. You know, Gav, is Zubimendi gonna be the next Busquets? No. The closest player to Busquets is probably Rodri, and Rodri has physicality that Busquets didn't have. But it's very hard to get a Busquets because Busquets is he's a once in a generation player, man. Once in a generation player, 100%. He's that good, you know. So, Gav, is Dowman gonna be the next Zidane? No, like, I've, you know what? Yeah, let's get it into perspective. Max Dowman, in terms of what he's showing for Arsenal in the youth and the 23s, yeah, is commendable. He's only 15, and again, he's got a lot of potential. But going from youth football to men's football is a different story. You know, I had someone the other day in the chat saying, you know, he could emulate Lamine Yamal. No chance. Lamine Yamal was doing it at 16 for club and country, being a key player. Dalman's only a year younger, and he's nowhere near touching the England senior squad, and he's nowhere near touching Arsenal's first team squad. So again, and it isn't to say that he isn't a good player, but there's levels in football, you know. And Dalman, for me, has got a lot of potential, but men's football and youth football is different. So can he make the step up again? Because the physicality side of it is going to be testing for him, you know. So what famous pundit has the most accurate opinions? Big up to Lumi. I mean, you know, it's difficult because I can't go. There's a lot of pundits that I don't even listen to. A lot of them talk nonsense. But if I was to say, is there any pundits that I like listening to? Again, ex-Arsenal, ex-Man United player. Obviously, won us the title that he couldn't win for Arsenal. And that's Robin Van Persie. I think Van Persie has to be up there. Who else is there? I mean, I like listening to Van Persie. Jermaine Defoe, I think, has sense, you know. Who else is there? I can't remember now. It's probably a few. I mean, the obvious ones that's always on our TV. I don't even like half of them, listening to half of them, you know. But I like Van Persie, man. I think Van Persie, in terms of his opinions, I like, you know. So yeah. Again, if you give me a list, Lumi, of the pundits, I can't think of them off the top of my head. Then I can tell you if I like them or not. You know. Big up to Spirit of LFC fans. Yeah, big up for coming through. Guys, come on, if you just come through, make sure you smash the like button. We got 20 likes. And make sure you sub to the channel as well. Big up yourselves. Big up to AR as well. Lumi says, Gav, do you have a good cook in your family? Nothing beats your grandma that can do some good food. Yeah, listen. Obviously, my dad used to be a great cook. My late father used to be a great cook. My mum, as always, you know. Yeah, listen. Yeah, obviously, mum's, my late father, obviously, my nan. Yeah, listen, it just runs in the family, man. Yeah. But I'd say my mum and dad, both of them great cooks, you know. So, yeah. Crawley Eagle says, yeah, big up Crawley Eagle, man. Guys, as I said, I'm back at 6 p.m. So if you've got to shoot, no worries. Obviously, it's been a bit of a long stream, so we're going to wrap up in a bit anyway. But I'll be back at 6 p.m. with Jonas. So Roy Keane, Gary Neville, I don't rate them. Nope, I knew you'd come out of them names, but I don't rate them as pundits. You know, for me, Roy Keane is all about passion. You know, doesn't really touch on the technical or the tactical side of the game. Gary Neville is very much, for me, a clickbait kind of pundit. You know, he just says generic stuff, really. You know, again, with Man United, I don't rate what he says about Man United, you know, so don't listen to them guys. You know what, Peter Crouch, I don't mind. I don't watch too much of Peter Crouch, but I don't mind him. Rio Ferdinand's a joker. You know, I don't listen to that guy. You know, that guy's... When that guy started saying that... what do you say about Garnacho, something to do with Garnacho's numbers or something like that? Like, even though I thought Rio Ferdinand was clueless anyway, that just that comment, I can't remember what he said about Garnacho and his numbers and tried to compare it with someone else. That's when I just thought, yeah, this guy this guy's doing too much, you know. Alan Shearer, again, I don't listen to him about his football opinions. So all five of those guys I don't really listen to, really. The only Peter Crouch I don't mind, but I don't watch Crouch too much, you know. So yeah, that's that really. But I like Van Persie. I like yeah, exactly. Lumi, there you go. There you go. These are the kind of guys that you get in the media, unfortunately, just talking nonsense, you know, about give Ollie a new contract. Yeah, listen, these guys you don't listen to, you know. But again, there are some pundits that I do like listening to. So yeah, but Van Persie's one of them, and there are a few others, but I forgot. But guys, listen up. We've been going for a little bit still anyway. Big up to all the mods for coming through. Big up to Lumi as well. Each and every time. And as I said, guys, I'm going to be back at 6 p.m. today. So yeah, make sure you guys and Lumi, I'm going to make you a mod as well, Lumi, because you're obviously supporting the channel. You come through a lot now as well, so big up yourself. So yeah, I'm gonna be live at 6 with Jonas, obviously Liverpool fan, and we're gonna get into obviously talk about Liverpool, Man United. So again, if you guys come through, you know, make sure you keep giving us your questions and your support as always. And hopefully see you guys back at 6 p.m. As I said, guys, I'll be putting this stream into chapters. So if there's anything that you wanna look at in particular or hear me talk about, then I'll be doing that. But yeah, hopefully see you guys at 6 p.m. And as always, keep giving us your support. And again, make sure you smash that like button and sub to the channel. And as I said, yeah, I'll catch you guys back at 6. Take it easy.